Welcome back to the channel, everybody. You already know, Norris, talking about the most popular topics going around the world. I'ma take that topic, break it down in my own way, and give you guys my personal opinion about the situation, whatever it is. This video is on the recent fight between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. This is a big time boxing match between the two. At the same time, it's not really a big time boxing match. It really seems more like a money grabber through a lot of people's eyes, the boxing community and the non-boxing community. I think pretty much everybody who's heard about this fight knew it would be more of a money grabber, sort of like Conor versus Mayweather. That fight seemed a little more real, but like the one thing that's very similar is the build up towards the fight. When you look at the Floyd versus Conor McGregor fight, there was a lot of smack talk from both ends. A lot was going on before the fight to promote and sell the fight, make the fight more exciting before it actually happens, so you get more people interested in watching it. This is like an old business tactic that a lot of promoters and fighters will use before they enter a big time fight where they're gonna get millions of dollars off of the fight. So the smartest thing to do is to try to sell the fight by creating a bunch of scripted antics throughout the time the fight was called up until the point the fight actually happens. And a lot of these things with the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight, like the slap by Mike Tyson when they were facing off with each other, a lot of people were saying it was kind of weird. Jake Paul was like crawling like a monkey up until Mike Tyson's face before he actually steps on Mike Tyson's like foot, and then that's what made him slap him. Now that could have been scripted too. The crawling like a monkey thing is what Jake Paul does all the time, no matter who the fighter is, so it's not like he was trying to like make fun of Mike Tyson in any kind of way. That's just something that he always does whenever he faces off with another fighter. So, but at the same time, he did step on Mike Tyson's foot, so that slap could have been a real thing. All of these things help sell the fight, sort of forces people to like have to watch the fight. There's a few things I want to say about the fight before, during the fight, and after. There's a few things I gotta definitely say. Jake Paul ended up winning the fight, real or fake. He's declared the winner through decision. It was 8 rounds. I think it's like a minute and a half for each round. Both fighters are fighting at around 225 pounds, so it's a heavyweight bout. It actually counts on Mike Tyson's record too, which is pretty disappointing with the incredible career Mike Tyson has had with his boxing. That's a little bit messed up, but Jake Paul, he did win. This is what I called before the fight started. I said if Jake Paul wins, it's gonna be by decision, and if Mike Tyson wins, he's knocking Jake Paul out. Honestly, like watching the highlights of the fight, because I didn't actually watch the fight in real time just because I knew a bunch of sketchy things might happen. So like the whole Netflix thing, a lot of people were trying to watch it through Netflix, but there is like an error during the stream. It was buffering the whole time, so a lot of people missed it through Netflix. Like I'm definitely not paying to watch a fight like this. I just waited for like the highlights to come out. I'm watching the footage and Mike Tyson looks 58, moving around, man. You can definitely tell that he was gassed out by the time it was the 3rd round, maybe. He's 58 years old. Jake Paul is 26, and this is what I said before the fight. If this is like a real fight, I mean, like, I'm still thinking Mike Tyson could easily knock out Jake Paul, but he's 58 years old, man. You know what I mean? Like, he's for sure gonna get tired. His age is just gonna limit him to a lot of different things, like the amount of jabs that he can throw. His legs are gonna probably go out. Jumping around with a guy that's 26 years old, there's a huge age gap between the two. So it's sort of sad to watch just because it kind of seems like a younger guy beating up on like an old man. It is Mike Tyson, Iron Mike. This is one of the most feared boxers in fighting history, not even boxing history, fighting history. Probably the hardest puncher in boxing history, but he's 58, man. That's a serious thing to like mention about this whole thing. Like 58 is old, man. Like 48 would have been old. You know what I'm saying? If Mike Tyson was 48, I would say the same thing. If Mike Tyson was like 40 years old or younger, he would have stood like a little bit more of a chance. But like, yo, once you pass like, I'm thinking 45, I'm thinking like a bunch of things about your body is gonna go wrong if you're going into a fight against somebody that's 26. If Mike Tyson was fighting Jake Paul and Jake Paul was also 58, I think the fight would have been a lot different, and Mike Tyson would have definitely knocked out Jake Paul if they were both the same age, because then they're moving at the same speed and they have have the same endurance and the same stamina. There's a chance that this was a real fight and it wasn't scripted, and maybe Mike Tyson, just because of his age, that's why he was moving really slow. If you were watching like the fight or the highlights, you can tell Mike Tyson's age really played a factor in this one. You can tell by the way he's moving, even how slow he's throwing his jabs. Like in the first, maybe the first and second round, he looked alright. Even his physique, he looks like he's in boxing shape for a 58-year-old. Like he doesn't look 58 when you look at how jacked he looks, man. He really looked like he was ready to go. But then you actually watch the fight and you watch him throwing punches and bouncing around. You know how boxers are like sort of dancing around in the ring. Everything just looks so much slower compared to like when he was younger. Even the way Jake Paul was throwing his jabs, everything just looked a little funny about this fight, man. I feel like if it was a real fight, they would be like swinging a lot more, and one or the other fighter would have got knocked to the ground maybe once or twice. There was no knockdowns in this one. There's no knockouts and there's no knockdowns. Everything was just dance around, jab. All right, clinch. There's a lot of clinches too. After every round, as they got closer to the 8th, it seems like both fighters were moving slightly slower and slower by the time they got to the 8th round. Maybe Jake Paul was trying to take it as easy as he could because, I mean, Mike Tyson, he is 58. I think it was more about making the money off of the fight rather than winning. So there is moments in the fight where you can sort of see Jake Paul start to like take back his like power in his punches and throw less jabs and sort of dance around more just to like run the clock out. Maybe he doesn't want to like really hurt Mike Tyson because again, he is 58 years old. He has a 58-year-old brain, probably has like a little bit of CTE, maybe a lot. I mean, he's gone through a lot of fights in his career, so he might actually have CTE just a bit. Jake Paul's probably thinking about that, thinking how old he is. He's a boxing legend and all of that. If anything, I probably respect Jake Paul just a bit just for that, not being like a crazy hooligan, just teeing off on Mike Tyson while his legs gave out. The fact that he's 58 years old, so he's gonna get gassed a lot faster than 26-year-old Jake Paul. A little bit of respect on his end for that. Treated Mike Tyson like he is an old man and not just like treating them like they're the same age and actually trying to like really take him out. I really think this was a fixed fight, man, because I don't know, man, there's just a lot of like weird parts about this fight. Like watching it didn't really seem real. It wasn't like the worst fight I've seen Jake Paul be involved with. As crazy as that sounds, like a lot of people are hating on this fight and saying it's like the worst fight. I think he's had other ones that looked a lot dumber than this one, because there is moments where it did seem like Mike Tyson rattled Jake Paul just a bit. There's like a couple of punches that he landed, but I mean, Jake Paul said he never got stung or buzzed by any of his hits. He could be lying, maybe not. There are also moments where Jake Paul landed maybe like 3 or 4 jabs on Mike Tyson and it really looked like he stung him just a bit. Like, I'm not gonna lie, man, like I know it's Mike Tyson, it's Iron Mike, this guy's a legend. I mean, he is 58 years old, man. That's an important part to understand about this. Age matters heavily, especially in boxing. Like, age matters, man. When you get older in boxing, man, it really does matter. That's two athletes knocking each other in the head the entire time, so it's like a different thing. There was moments where Jake Paul got Mike Tyson, he really did, man, like a few times, making Mike Tyson a little bit wobbly just a bit there. It might have slowed him down as the rounds continued to go. There's a bunch of parts where you see Mike Tyson trying to like put his mouthpiece back in his mouth, and I think that might have caused a distraction for him, forcing him to like not jab as often as Jake Paul was jabbing at Mike Tyson. But I don't know if you guys noticed that his mouthpiece was like coming out of his mouth and he was like trying to like put it back. He's trying to like fix it in between the rounds with his gloves, so that might have been a distraction just a bit. Both fighters got about $20 million. Jake Paul most likely got a little bit more than that just because he sort of set up this whole thing, but Mike Tyson, he earned himself $20 million off the fight. In a lot of ways, that's like the positive that you can look into this whole boxing situation. The fight might have been bad and there was a lot of hype leading up to it. The man lost. It's a loss on his record, but he's $20 million richer now, and Jake Paul probably made a little bit more than that. So Jake Paul's not a legitimate boxer. He's not fighting legitimate boxers, but he is a very, very smart entrepreneur. That's something that you definitely can't take away from him. Just the whole build up to this fight, the smack talk, the I'm gonna kill him, the slap in the face, all of the antics that had happened from the beginning of this like fight being called to the point where they they're actually fighting. Jake Paul, absolute genius. It was only 8 rounds. They barely touched each other. They were basically dancing around the ring most of the time. No one got knocked out. This ended up being a unanimous decision. I think Jake Paul, probably one of the smartest entrepreneurs out there in the game, for making people believe that this is a real fight and that he can get knocked out, and getting a lot of people like aggravated with his antics, getting everybody to take Mike Tyson's side, thinking that Mike Tyson's gonna destroy Jake Paul. I mean, it wasn't really a show, but you give the people a little bit of a show, leave the stadium, leave the place with $20 million or more, dancing around in the ring for 8 rounds. It reminds me of the Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather fight, man. I think Jake Paul took a lot of notes off of that fight in terms of how to sell the fight, try to make as much money as possible. That's what he definitely did, making Mike Tyson a lot of money too. So I mean, it cancels out the loss for Mike Tyson, because I want to see Mike Tyson beat Jake Paul, just like a lot of people out there. 26 versus 58, like that's a serious age gap, more than double Jake Paul's age basically. So that's pretty crazy, right? I thought Jake Paul had a really good chance at winning the fight because of that. Honestly, like in terms of being a business guy and an entrepreneur, he has my respect in that category. One of the smartest business guys out there, understanding what sells and what doesn't, and what gets people wanting to watch like a particular fight compared to just any ordinary fight. But in terms of being a real boxer, still zero respect. If anything, it's in the negatives now, because you're beating up on old people. If anything, try calling out a boxer that holds clout and value through their name, but they're not as old. Like, I just don't like the age part. That shit is lame. He needs to get into the ring with a real fighter, kind of like Tommy Fury. Maybe try to do a rematch with that guy. And if he wins that type of fight, where he's fighting a real fighter and actually, you know, like competing against someone that's the same age as him too, then he'll get my respect. Honestly, he's actually a pretty good boxer when you watch him fight. He knows what he's doing. He has technique. He's not completely like clueless on like how to fight. The guy knows how to fight. But you look at the people that he's fighting against, it doesn't count. I mean, he's making so much money off of these scripted fights that maybe he doesn't do it, but until that day happens, he gets zero respect from me, man. Zero respect. Don't just believe in something and spend up your money. You go watch whatever that thing is, and then it ends up being nothing. Most spectacles like this one are most likely money grabbers. To watch the fight, like, I knew it was just one of those fights that it's better off to wait for it to go onto YouTube or something like that. At 58 years old, man, I really hope this is the last fight Mike Tyson ever does. I'm not gonna lie though, like, it was pretty cool to see Mike Tyson get back into the ring, even though he lost. Just in the ring, fighting at 58, having the courage to go up against somebody like Jake Paul, who's young, slightly bigger than Mike Tyson. Also, Jake Paul is sort of a knockout artist too. He's had like 7 or 8 knockouts in his career. It's really cool to see a guy like Mike Tyson, a legend like Mike Tyson, get back in the ring and show everybody that he still has a little bit in him, even though he's 58. But I really do hope this was his last fight. He needs to go sit down, man, continue his podcast, keep blazing up the ting there, man, because yeah, man, you can really see his age in this fight. The way he was jabbing and moving around, like, he really did look like a 58-year-old. Post-fight, while they're all on the ring still, he was getting interviewed. God, I forgot what the guy's name is, but he asked Mike Tyson a question if this was his last fight. Mike Tyson's like, oh, I think I'm gonna fight Jake Paul's brother, Logan Paul. And Logan Paul, obviously, he was right behind his brother there, basically says, oh, I'll kill you. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? Hopefully that doesn't spark another trigger in Mike Tyson's brain and makes him fight Logan Paul. I would not be surprised if they set that up, just because they're gonna make a lot of money off of it. They'll definitely set up another one, do exactly the same thing, same results. So I can definitely see that happening, because at this point, I think Mike Tyson just cares about the money. He's 58. He's not in the same mindset to destroy every opponent he goes up against. Everything is very much about money for him and for the Paul brothers. So we're gonna have to see, but I really hope this is his last fight. I don't want him to tarnish his record even more than he did. This guy's a legend, just like any other legend. Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, Tom Brady. I'm happy I didn't see the fight. I've always been against Netflix and I'm pretty happy that they messed up the fight too. Let me know what you guys think about this whole thing. Make sure you subscribe, like the video. Also, man, next song dropping, I got Waldo dropping for December 4th. I got another song dropping for December 14th as the last song I'm dropping for this year. That's all I got for this video. I'm out of here, man.